So another part of the puzzle is going to be finding the right real estate agent. And as we said, it's possible that that real estate agent not only helps to liquidate the big house, but possibly also helps somebody find a smaller and a simpler residence. So that's basically two transactions, and it could be a double closing. If you know what I mean by a double closing, that is, it's possible that the money from this big house is what is going to pay for this second house, and possibly we'll be closing them both on the same day, which, if I put it this way, if a real estate transaction is like a string of dominoes, every transaction has, let's say, 100 dominoes that are going to have to all fall in line for a successful closing. Now, if you have two closings that are going to happen on the same day, you've got 200 dominoes, and everything has to happen on the same day so both of the deals close and the person's able to move. And then you have, of course, the logistics of the move, if all the stuff is going to have to be moved out from the one house into the other house. And anything that goes wrong with either one of those transactions affects the other. So you understand it's kind of a complex situation if that's what's happening, if it is both, if there's two transactions closing on one day. So what should you look for in a real estate professional? Well, one of the questions would be, how many years has the person been in the business? That's a question that I would ask about anyone. And I will use the analogy of if I'm going to have surgery. Now, you're probably thinking, well, a real estate transaction is not as serious as having surgery on my hand or on my heart or on my brain. And that's true. But it's still the largest financial transaction of their lives for almost everyone. So it is a very serious, huge transaction for people. So it's legitimate to say, I would almost want to use the same questions that I'm going to say if I'm going to select somebody who's going to perform surgery on me for the real estate agent. So how many years in the business? What kind of reviews are they getting? If I see that someone's got 50 really good Google reviews or Zillow reviews from other consumers, or lots of good, happy reviews on their website, or someone who has very few, it doesn't mean that the person with very few is not a good person or is not a good real estate agent, but it helps to assure you that this person's got a lot of happy customers. So hopefully that'll be the case with me. Is it someone who's been in the local area for a long time, knows the local area? Or is it a warm personal recommendation? So maybe I've never heard of the person, but someone that you already know and trust is warmly recommending this person from lots of experience. Now that helps. So again, similar to if I'm going to choose the doctor for surgery, I don't choose the person who's a friend of my neighbor or the son of my neighbor just for that reason alone. Someone who goes to my church for that reason alone. Or just the first one that I stumbled across, or the first website that popped up on Google. Not necessarily the only criteria. I would be a little more picky than that in choosing who I was going to use as my real estate agent. So what type of a new home, if the agent's going to both be selling the old home and buying a new home, what types of new home would be appropriate for downsizing? Well, single-story townhome, and don't even think about the two stories. You would be surprised how many people who are, I would say, over 50, and they're looking to buy a two-story. It's like, it's kind of short-term planning, because at some point that two stories may not work any longer. So single-story townhome, again, the townhomes have a lot of maintenance that's included in the homeowners association on the exterior, possibly everything on the exterior. A condo, again, if it has an elevator, something where you're not walking upstairs in terms of a condo. There's 55-plus communities that are a lot of times gated, very good, price-worthy communities, and a lot of maintenance included is an option. And in our county, we actually have some communities where you pay quite a large association fee, but literally everything on the house is maintained. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but everything from fixing and replacing the roof, painting the exterior, to changing every single light bulb is included. So those communities do exist. And the other one would be finding a place with a mother-in-law suite. You might realize that the solution in downsizing might be moving into a mother-in-law suite together with one of your children. And this is becoming more and more common that either the kids are moving back home, maybe they're not able to make it on their own, the kids are moving back home and need some financial help from mom and dad or from mom, or that mom needs a little more help and it's good for her to move in together into a house with a mother-in-law suite. But in our local community, a full-fledged mother-in-law suite is very rare. If you actually look for them, because typically it requires a multifamily zoning, and we don't have a lot of multifamily zoning. There are certain ones that were built maybe without permits where there's a full kitchen and a full bath in a separate apartment, but it is something that you want an expert who knows where are those houses that are out there that have the full mother-in-law suite if that's the option that you're looking for. So again, an agent who has experience in double closings, because there's a lot of moving parts. And then the question would be, I want to get top dollar for the big house, so I want to deal with an agent who has a lot of experience in getting the closings, has a lot of marketing, has a lot of lead generation platforms, has a big referral network, and personally I would say somebody who closes at least 50 transactions a year or more. And the only reason I say that is if it's fewer transactions, you can do the math on it and you're looking at a part-time agent for most likely. And so you don't want a part-time person listing your home. You want someone who that's all they do and they sell a lot of homes to show that they have systems in place so they can do it and get your house sold for as much as possible. So again, look at some samples of their marketing, look at their flyers, look at their websites, and ask them for real numbers. Because a lot of times people might have a lot of talk, but they can't show you any real numbers to back up what they say they can do for you. So there's a few things to consider with your finding your listing agent or your real estate agent, and feel free to interview several. I know it's tempting to just take the first person who comes down the pike, but feel free to interview more than one to make sure that you feel that there's differences between the people that you interview.